Hey there. So, this is going to be great. So anyway, it's October. Pumpkin harvest candle here in the garage. I make enough stinky stuff. It's nice to have a little variety of smell. However, I do have to admit that the smell of body putty will always make me nostalgic. Forever. Yeah. Spent enough time maturing, I guess, is more the answer instead of growing up. But spent a hell of a lot of time with my father in his garage shops, making improvements, redoing, reworking, rebuilding, I guess, a lot of antique cars, and including a couple of street rods. And yeah, body putty is always going to be one of my favorite things. But that's not what I'm doing right now. So instead, I'm about to do some flocking work on our devil monkey here. So basically what I'm doing here is getting a rather thick paint. A little too thick, actually, if you ask me. So I may have to work on that. But a thick paint that's basically an adhesive glue. But this is black. So I may have to do a bit of painting to blend it in. However, I've got brown flocking fiber that I'm going to use on it. And that should give me a dark base and a lighter surface. It could be really... Whoa, don't drip. Better to drip on me than fur. But yeah, that might give me something really nice. I'm hoping anyway. But in order to thin this, I'm going to blend the edges. I'm going to have to take my brush and take some mineral spirits to it here in a minute, just so it's not quite so hard-edged. And then I'm going to take it outside and probably bring you bouncily along with me in the dark to play with it. That's always an entertaining part of it. You'll see. It never occurred to me that I was so much of a night owl until given the freedom to do any scheduling I feel like these days. So now I'm up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, it seems, these days. Right now it's like, I don't know, 11 o'clock or something. And I'm still working out here, of course. And I keep forgetting that a lot of my colleagues and friends, of course, don't keep the same kind of times that I do. So I periodically am in the middle of conversations and go, oh wait, yeah, they're about to go to sleep. Oh, whoops. Whereas I'm like, oh no, I'm going to keep going for a few hours here. I can't do this too thinly, otherwise it won't hold on to the flocking fiber, and I gotta go pretty quickly here. I can't let this go for too long. Speaking of, I probably ought to more or less call it here and do the thinning edge thing real quick. Oh wait, I don't care about this one. That's a chip brush that's disposable. However, I'm gonna cover my glue back up. See if I can get into this stupid thing. Ugh. They make it adult proof. Ugh. These things are stupid. There we go. Just mangle it, why not? Oops, got a little water in there still. Not what I want. Okay, so mineral spirits to kind of thin out the edge here. Blend it in just a little bit. I don't want it on the lip there. At some point, the thinned edges are going to be too thin to really hold any flocking, so it's basically just going to end up being like a paint. But I don't want really gloppy. I keep saying gloppy lately. I don't know why. But I don't want really thick edges. Okay. So I may need to do a second coat of this at some point, but for now, so this is going to be weird for a minute here, but watch a door go up as I go open it up. Okay. Dark out here, so let's do that. All right, here's the fun part. So I have a flocking gun that should apply things nice and evenly, but honestly, I hate it. It didn't work at all. So instead, I do it the hard way. Pelt it with this stuff. Okay. Just a little bit more on that cheek there. I don't want to breathe this, but there's no breeze out here, which is kind of good, but not so great if I'm blowing at it. Okay, now I'll let that dry for a little while, and then I'll take my airbrush and blow off the rest. Then I can go to the edges and kind of blend the paint in a little bit better. I might have to do a little bit of edge work. We'll see. Anyway, so I'm going back inside. And you're coming with me. Whee! Well, that was bouncy and weird. I'm getting chilly out there. All right, let's move that out of the way. And there you go. A bit of flocking So it's a fuzzy face, and we'll probably do some fine detail kind of flocking later on sometime. Whew, that pumpkin candle is really kicking in, really getting me now. Good stuff, but holy cow. Okay, got to make sure I close this up really well, otherwise it's a bad deal. Okay. Yeah, it's soaking through where it was more wet. So I probably ought to put some more fiber on there. I don't know. Yeah, you can see the really wet stuff is kind of getting a slick spot on it. I'm used to this going a lot faster than I want it to, but that's probably because I usually, the last few times were on much bigger projects. Last 2 times that I did it anyway. So it's it's not treating me the same way, of course. So I may just let it sit for a minute and do another round of flock in the face. I had to be careful on the phrasing on that, because face flocking doesn't sound so good. Doesn't sound so family friendly, to say the least. Good morning. So, I don't have a whole lot of time right now because I have a departmental meeting coming up in a minute. Well, half an hour or so. So, I just wanted to make a quick video here where I'm getting really close to finishing up the devil monkey here. I did the flocking last night, redid it early hours of the morning there, and now it should be basically completely dry. It takes quite a long time for this undercoat stuff to dry, but it's been in there for about 10 hours now, so let object dry for 10 to 15 hours, then shake loose stuff. So maybe a little on the shy side for dry, but I'm gonna take my airbrush and kind of blow the stuff off. You're supposed to just shake it off, but I don't want any of this stuff to just linger. Plus I want to try to get it out of the fur here. But once I finish this up, I'm trying not to breathe it, I'm going to do some touch-up stuff for painting of the face, give it a little bit more fleshy feel. Oh yeah, this isn't a big deal. Good. I was afraid some of this really thick stuff right around here wouldn't be dry enough, but it looks like it's totally fine. I don't want to do any kind of manhandling it too hard or anything yet, since it's still on its early stage of drying here. But yeah, there's plenty for this. Get all that loose stuff out of there so it doesn't just keep shedding all over everything. Not the impression you want when you do a gallery show of, oh, they just leave such a mess with all their work. That's not what I want to do. Okay. Blow off some of this stuff off the table and the beast bears here. No idea why he suddenly had an accent to his name. Alright. So this little sucker made a heck of a mess. I'm going to have to blow out my garage again pretty soon. That's always entertaining. I take my leaf blower and just blow all the dust out of the entire thing as much as I can. Okay, so turn that off before I forget again. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is just kind of, actually I'm going to start with this small brush, and I'm going to take kind of a cocktail of two different, actually I say cocktail, but I'm not going to mix them, a couple of different colors to kind of lighten up some of the areas, give it a little bit more of a flesh look. Yeah, and I'm probably going to want to water some of this down. I'm not sure how much. Actually, this one feels like it needs some watering. This is one of my older paints, and by that I mean decades. This one, I bought this one from Joplin, Missouri, apparently, as the tag's falling off here. Yeah, that means it was, about that when I was in Crowder College, I guess. So that was a really long time ago. So thankfully, these acrylics, when they get really old, you can tell pretty easily if they're not good anymore, because they start getting kind of clumpy and nasty, boogery kind of stuff in there. But thankfully, this airbrush paint, especially this old school Badger stuff that I don't even think they make anymore, it was really good at being super pure and relatively thin, instead of the Createx stuff that's really thick, and I usually have to water it down just to airbrush things. It's a real shame this stuff isn't around that I can find anymore, because I really enjoyed it. The store we bought it from, I think, was going out of business, so my folks were awesome, and they basically just bought everything that the guy still had on in stock. They were super awesome about it. Like, just kind of gave me an art supply gift way back in the day. It was really cool of them. I think that may be also where I got my first set of watercolor pencils as well. And that was pretty awesome too. So this is, oh, that's not the color I was planning to start with, but that's okay. What I was going to do with this is more of a wash kind of thing. And take my paper towel and then just give it a little hint of kind of a blending from the more flesh color. Let's actually start with that, as I've already started, so I guess I can't. But this is a bit more opaque, so it'll it's another one of those Badgers. I laugh because it says flesh, and it's a very selective a few people that would match this identity of flesh color, but whatever. Times have changed in the last 20 years or so, thankfully. Yeah, this is a little bit more thick, but that's okay for what I'm wanting to do with it here. What I was wanting to do is give it a bit more like that kind of thing, and then come in and do that. And then I'll wash over with the yellowish kind of color. Blend some of that out. That is really thick. I didn't want it quite that thick, because now I'm kind of having to go in and narrow it down a little, but it occurs to me that there's probably a better way to do that. Treat it a little bit more like a watercolor, wet and wet, so it blends in better. And damping this stuff up with a slightly tinted peachish water kind of color. And then I can come in with my paper towel, pull a lot of that off, just leaving a little bit of it in there. But it'll also leave it damp, so when I go in and do this, it won't be so obnoxious, hopefully. I don't want this to be too evenly done. Or too stout. But I'm going to take the black and do a wash over it again, so it'll kind of minimize some of this too. I need to keep an eye on the time here. I don't want to spend too much time on this and miss my department meeting. Technology's already made me miss one of them this last month, I guess. Technology. Okay, so let's do a little. And then wash over that with some water. Blend that down a little. And then do this so it's not so dramatic. And then I got rid of almost all of it on this side anyway. So I'll add a little more in. Don't want that too obvious. In fact, I'm not really liking it too much, so I'm going to basically get rid of it because I didn't really care for it after all. Whoop, dropped my brush. Okay, so that's getting a little bit peachier face going on here. I don't really care for it to be too much because I really want to keep that reddish skin going on. Okay, so let's wash these two out. I need to make one with make a container with a wider foot so I don't have to worry about tipping it over so badly when I'm going up against the rim like that. Ceramic goals. Next project on the wheel, I guess. I've got a really piece of garbage $200 ceramic wheel I bought from Amazon when the pandemic started. And wow, is it not worthwhile. I mean, it got me through the period where I couldn't be in the art studio at school anymore, and I still needed to do some demo stuff for students and things like that. But wow, is it just not worth having for the most part. Invest in the good stuff. That's the answer here. So I can't get that brush in there, even though I really kind of wanted to. So I'm going to do the same trick I did with the gloss stuff. Woohoo! That's a little more than I wanted. And see, now you won't see that cream anywhere near as much, but it'll get this creepy kind of fiery sort of feel even after I dab it off here in a minute, as in right now. I don't want that seeping in too much. That'll be too yellow if I let that go, especially over here where it's getting into some of the fibers from the flocking. Yeah, out of that eye a little better. Kind of like the idea of the ridge being a little more yellowed. Let's see if it looks good. Okay, looks kind of like a mess right now. Hopefully that yellow or the black wash over it's going to help with that. Then, when I get this colored the way I want, I'll do that gloss medium so it'll be all wet kind of looking face. It's probably a good idea to get around the sides of the wings of the nostril here. Actually, I'm going to go under the nose even. You'll hardly even see it down there, so I'm not going to dab that off much. This using a paper towel here helps with giving it just a little bit of a texture so it doesn't look so, you know, predictable, I guess is the phrasing I'm looking for there. I really want to paint into the flocking, but it's a little early on its drying cycle to do that, so I may have to wait. That's the fun thing about acrylics. They're so quick to dry. I don't really have to worry too much about waiting forever on stuff. That quote-unquote flesh is really potent, isn't it? So, this is where I get the black, I guess. And I need to water that down quite a bit. But I've already put some color into my bowl there, so what I'm going to do is this. Hopefully that works. There we go, that's good. Very, very thin and watery. That's what I was hoping for. Just a little bit of the edge around the part line of fur. And paper towel again. Get the surfaces off a little. Notice I'm being really, really light-handed with it. Just kind of dabbing a little bit barely even touching the thing, just down in there though. I would like to get a little bit out of the eye socket. I don't need it to pool up too much. Okay, that doesn't look as anywhere near as crazy, but it gives it a bit more of a fleshy kind of color. Fleshy. Okay, now I'm probably running close to out of time, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off for now. I may come in after this is dried and see how it treats me. If I want to do another, I may do another antique coat so that it's going to be even a little bit darker in the some of the shadow areas. Once this is dry, I may do a little bit of, I very likely will do a little bit of painting into this flocked areas so that I can give a little bit of a faked coloration to it. And I'll probably get a little bit of kind of pinkish peach to the edges of the lips. But that's about it. Actually, I don't know. I like the black lips. I may just leave those because it'll be a good contrast to the peachy pink of the gums. Yeah, I may just do that. But yeah, yep, getting close. This guy is just about done. I love fur. I get all 1980s teasy with it. Okay, so that's gonna do it for now, and I'll come back after my department meeting and do a little bit more work to it. Okie dokie. See you in just a little bit.